Have you ever wanted to see Titus as a Blood Angel or a Death Guard? Well, that's kind of a weird thing to want to see, but we're going to do it in this video, so you're in the right place. Let's get a look at this guy. Bit of a different start today, but don't worry, we're going to build some stuff. This is the Warhammer Character Encyclopedia. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble, and it has a little compartment here at the front. It's kind of odd considering that once you take Titus out, that stays there. But beyond that, here we've got a very detailed encyclopedia of characters. Quite a few Space Marine characters. Here we have my boy, Mephiston, and of course going through some of the history, the lore. You can actually learn quite a bit. They even have, I think, some Legends characters in here as well. So if you're wanting to familiarize yourself just with the characters in 40K, it might not be bad to pick this up. And if you didn't get a chance to get yourself Titus, well, you have another opportunity to do so. So I guess it's good for that too. But yeah, we're going to be assembling and kitbashing him here. And we're going to decide, do we do Blood Angels or do we do Death Guard? Because as you guys know, I've been building both of those armies, and I've been converting, some Primaris Marines into Death Guard. In fact, my custom Death Guard warband is made up of former Ultramarines, largely. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time deciding that here. Okay, so it's just got this little thing here. This is kind of awkward. This little seal, I guess. All right, let's pop that open. And there's another layer to it, of course. All right. And there we have it. That's what's inside. I suppose this can probably go back in there since it's meant to show through the cover. Not sure what they plan for you to do with that after this point, but yeah, we're gonna set the book aside so it doesn't get damaged. Cool thing about this model is it has some battle damage already added to it. You'll notice that with Titus. It's actually a pretty neat detail that they add to a lot of the armor pieces. Some of these pieces are exceptionally weird just in the way that they've laid them out on the sprue, but thankfully the shoulder pads are pretty basic and are gonna make it really easy for us to modify those when we get to that step. Interestingly, there are also no instructions in there. I was looking for them. So yeah, that combined with the weird pieces, that's a kind of a weird oversight on Games Workshop's part. That's bizarre. I mean, I'll figure this thing out, but like for a beginner, this would be suck. I'm just saying. All right, now that we have the miniature assembled, I can really see how he would fit in as an Assault Intercessor with my Blood Angels. The pose in particular kind of leans heavily into that. It's not a very, Ultramarine-like pose. Very Titus for sure, but I can also see how with a few modifications, he could totally be embracing Nurgle and go full Plague Marine. The good news, I suppose, is that I actually have two. So we're going to do both. This is actually the first Titus model that I got and assembled. I got it in that board game variation that had Titus and a whole bunch of termagants. It was pretty cheap, and I wanted Titus, and my son plays Tyranids, so it worked out. And yes, I actually primed him. I was preparing to paint him blue. I was just, for fun, gonna paint him. I never got around to it. And now that I am doing Death Guard, and particularly with the lore of my custom chapter, a lot of them being former Ultramarines, it makes sense. And that means that we can leave all of the Ultramarine iconography on his armor and then just modify some other stuff around it. For our little blueberry friend here, that stuff has to go, though. So I'm gonna do these side by side so you get an idea of how it's going every step of the way. We forgot his little pistol holster, or not pistol, it's a bolter. What am I talking? All right, so let's get started, shall we? One of them is gonna fall to chaos and the other one to the red thirst. So first things first on this guy, there's a few swaps we're gonna make. We're gonna lose the backpack with the Ultramarines iconography on the back. We can replace this with another backpack that makes for a really simple swap. also going to take off this plain shoulder pad as we have our custom chapters shoulder pad to go on that side. This shoulder on this side, I know might mean something to the Ultramarines, but I'm not too concerned. I like the purity seals on there. My guys are the Gilded Skulls, so another skull on the armor is totally cool. And we are going to swap out the helmet for something different. Okay, so just those 3 little swaps so far, but that's already made a big difference. We'll come back next and remove some of this Ultramarines iconography, but before we do that, let's go ahead and jump over to our other Titus and see how he's doing with Nurgle. Now, thinking along those same lines, I want to see what simple swaps I can do on this guy first before I do anything crazy. There's maybe a few pieces that I can swap out. Obviously, the shoulder, the head, these are obvious candidates, but also that chain sword. I don't know that, like, you know, Plague Marines are typically seen with a chain sword. I think they use some other things. So let's make a few quick swaps and we'll see how it looks. All right, and here we are. We had to make an extra swap to make it make sense. But yeah, we've got a new backpack on this guy, a new shoulder pad and melee weapon. And we also swapped out a head from the Kill Team starter set, which I thought kind of looked like Titus to begin with. The backpack, helmet, and the symbol on the shoulder pad for the Blood Angel are from Crimson Lords. That symbol, the skull with the blood drop on the forehead, is actually a separate piece, and then I did some 3D modeling to get it on the shoulder pad. So it's actually one piece. As for this guy, we are working with 8 Legs miniatures on the weapon and shoulder pad. I really like their version of the Death Guard, obviously legally distinct. And then, like I said, Kill Team head. And then this backpack was just a random one that I got off of that like purple site for 3D printing stuff. Anyway, that's where I got the stuff, if you're wondering. So now we have a few more modifications we need to make, but each of them needs some different modifications. We need to remove some of the Ultramarine stuff from this guy, and we need to Nurglify this guy some more. So let's dive into it. We have 2 main things to address here, which is the Ultra symbol here on the chest and on the knee. We're just going to carefully carve this one off. And after some cutting and scraping, it's looking all right, but we need to sand off whatever's left to just make it nice and smooth. Tiny little circles. All right, that was fairly easy compared to what we're going to have to do here on the chest. And I am honestly tempted to just take off the full Aquila. All right, that was actually a bit easier than I thought it was going to be. A little bit of cleanup work still do there, but yeah, Blade made it really easy. Teeny little thing here. We've got this like Inquisition symbol. And yeah, these guys are blood angels. And, you know, it's not that we don't get that the Inquisition has a place, but you know what? Keep your dirty hands off of my guys. The Blood Angels have a complicated relationship with the Codex Astartes. There are definitely things about it they are not fans of, if you're familiar. Yeah, we're going to lose that. We'll replace that with something else, though. All right, very simple tweaks there. We added a little bracer, put a blood drop, and we've got this little dangly bit, which is probably going to fall off at some point. But, you know, I think this guy's ready. And so now on to our Death Guard Titus. We don't need to remove the Ultramarine iconography in this case, but if you've been watching the channel, you know what we need to add. My custom Death Guard warband has a bunch of mushrooms on it. These types of mushrooms, these are called bloodtooth mushrooms, and so we're going to get some of these onto Titus here. I think we're going to go with some smaller ones. He's a smaller model than the average Death Guard model. We don't have a lot of real estate to work with. I don't want to cover up too much. And maybe he's like newly corrupted, so the mushrooms are just starting to spread. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've got some green stuff. I went with just a small amount here. And if you haven't seen the mushroom technique, it's pretty simple. You get a little blob, pinch it between your fingers. You want to create kind of a rounded flat top for this type of mushroom. Something like this. Oh, yeah, okay. Something like this is what we're going for. And then we're just going to like press it in so it sticks. We'll probably add a little cluster in that area. All right, so we've got a little cluster on that hip, and I think we'll put some here on the backpack just to give it a little bit more. Lovely. Great. All right, quick little repair job. We got those mushrooms on there. All right, the next time you see these guys, they are both going to be primed. All right, so here they both are. Just watch them spin around here for a minute, or
a second, whatever the case may be. Pretty happy with how they turned out. Definitely two different directions for the same model. Right now, in fairness, these guys are not done yet. They've been primed. I think the Blood Angels details came through. Of course, that little bit that we added on to the wrist, it disappeared somewhere. I don't know if I'm going to replace it or not because that's bound to happen again. But yeah, he definitely reads Blood Angels, right? I think the pose in particular is why a lot of people make Titus into a Blood Angel. So totally makes sense. But it also works for this guy, Angry Plague Marine with a nasty looking sword. Absolutely. He's looking pretty gross at this stage, but there's more grossness to be added. For reference, this is my most recent model in my Death Guard army, which I think is 95% complete. It'll take a little bit of work to get this guy to this same level, but that's what we're going for, and it's kind of cool that you get to see this stage of the process, I think. Oh, and by the way, this is that guy's base. I am just absolutely in love with this thing. I will be doing the same basing scheme on this guy as well. So you guys, thank you for watching. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check out my book. There's a link in the description. It's now in paperback. You can check that out as well. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.